going on, guys? My name is Milo, and in this video I am going to share with you 10 tips for your first trip to Cancun, Mexico. I am a travel lifestyle content creator based in Miami, Florida, and I must admit I am in love with Cancun and the Riviera Maya. Because of that reason, in the past 3 years I've traveled 3 or 4 times to this area, so I do have some wisdom to share with you about this beautiful place in the Mexican Caribbean. Before we cut through the meat of this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and activate the bell so you don't miss any of my travel content. You ready? ¿Listos? Let's go! The first thing you have to know is that Cancun and Mexico in general is safe. So just travel. And I know it might be a little bit crazy the moment you tell your family and your friends that you're heading to Cancun or Mexico, because they're gonna start filling you up with all these crazy and horror stories of people who have traveled to Mexico. To be honest, I've never felt unsafe while driving or walking around Cancun or the surrounding areas. And as you probably know, my wife and I travel with a lot of gear since we're creating content, and we've never felt uneasy while filming in Mexico or in Cancun specifically.
That's true.
You do have to keep in mind that Cancun is a very touristy area, and obviously locals know that you're there to spend money. So you might become a little bit of a magnet to salespeople on the street, and honestly it's up to you to pay attention to them or to politely tell them no gracias, no thank you, and keep walking. The second tip I have for you is to try to arrive early. Don't take one of those late afternoon flights or evening flights just because your travel date is part of your vacation and you want to make the most out of that time. When you get there early, I feel like you're a little bit more awake and alert to different things that might happen that could cost you a lot of money at the end of your trip. And if you want to find out exactly what I'm talking about, stick around till the end of this video. If you arrive early, I feel like it's a little bit easier for you to find help in case you have some type of issue. And I guess the best example I can give you on this note would be what happened to my wife and I 2 months ago when we traveled to Cancun and we couldn't find the company who was responsible to take us from the airport to the hotel. And we had to ask around, try to find out who was this company or try to get in contact with them. And luckily we found this very nice lady who lent us her cell phone, and that way we could get in contact with the company. But I feel like if you would have arrived there at night, that alone would have caused a lot of stress, and it would have taken a lot more time for us to find somebody to help us out. Tip número 3 or number 3 is do not rely on your cell phone. Have a backup of your travel reservations, hotel, car rental, and also have a backup of important phone numbers in Cancun, like your Airbnb host's phone number, for example. You will need this information in the future, and believe it or not, sometimes the Wi-Fi at the airport is not the best. And the other reason why you shouldn't rely on your phone is because sometimes your phone carrier may take a little bit longer than expected to connect to the satellites or the cell towers in Mexico. In my case, I have Verizon, and it usually takes about 2 hours for my phone to come back to life. Tip number 4 is to get through customs quick. Now, yes, we all want to get through customs quickly, regardless of where we are traveling to. But in order to do this, first you need to have all your documents on hand, pretty much ready to go. We're talking about passports, custom forms completely filled out, and obviously your hotel or Airbnb information, which brings me back to what I just mentioned about having a backup of all these documents. For the most part, the officers are going to ask you the basic stuff like where are you traveling from, how long you're staying in Cancun, where are you staying in Cancun, and if you have anything to declare. If you don't speak Spanish, nothing to worry about because most, if not all of the officers are bilingual, so the language shouldn't be an issue. The next one is probably the most controversial thing when it comes to traveling to Cancun, and that is renting a car. Because yes, it can be a nightmare. If you're thinking about traveling or visiting other cities or towns around Cancun like Tulum or Playa del Carmen, your best bet is to rent a car. On the other hand, if you just want to go to your hotel, hang out by the pool or by the beach area, or just walk through the hotel zone, your best bet would be to use public transportation. So if you decide to rent a car, the best thing you can do is to start your search as early as possible so you secure the best prices too. Don't wait until the last minute, or even worse, until you land in Cancun, because you're gonna pay a hefty price. One thing you have to watch out for are the hidden fees in those contracts when you rent a car in Cancun, because those hidden fees can literally ruin your vacation or travel plans. And I'm speaking here from experience. Car rental companies in Cancun have the tendency to use fear to their advantage to kick you in the ass with insurance fees that you don't necessarily need. From my personal experience,
our personal experience.
Oh, okay, From our personal experience, we can definitely tell you to stay away from Hertz. Do not rent from that company. That company, it's horrible when it comes to renting cars to tourists or even locals. Again, it wasn't fun having to drive back from Tulum that morning when I realized that they had charged us over $300 for a car rental, then spending like 2 or 3 hours fighting with them at the airport to get our money back. And at the end of the day, not getting our money back and pretty much wasting 1 full day of our vacation. Don't do that. Don't rent from them. Just rent from any other company. Or my advice would be to rent from a local car rental agency that has pretty good reviews on Google. If you do get scammed, don't take it personal, because like I just said, these car rental companies do this every single day in, day out, left and right to everybody, regardless of where you're coming from. You could be from Mexico, living in Mexico, you're still getting scammed. Or you can be a tourist, you're still getting scammed. So again, don't take it personal. Don't think that it's because you are from the United States or from out of Mexico that you are going through this horrible experience. Speaking of transportation, do not take a taxi or a cab in Cancun. These are super expensive, and they will charge you an arm and a leg. As of May of 2023, Uber is legal in Cancun. The only thing is that Uber is not allowed to operate in or around the airport area. Now, public buses might be your best bet if you're only planning to move around the hotel zone in Cancun. Make sure you're hopping on the red city buses labeled R1 or R2, because all other buses will charge you an arm and a leg as well. When riding the bus, make sure you stand by the driver until they give you your change back. Otherwise, you'll never get it. Tip number 7 is to have some local money, and this is regardless of your travel plans. Here's why. Daniela and I decided to head over to Isla Mujeres and visit Punta Sur during our first trip to Cancun. When we got there and went up to the box office to purchase our tickets, the lady told us that if we had Mexican pesos, the entrance would cost us 30 Mexican pesos, which is about $1.75. But if we didn't have Mexican pesos, then we would have to pay $5 each. Imagine if you're traveling with your family of 3, 4, 5, or your group of friends, this can rack up pretty quickly, and the difference is pretty dramatic if you ask me. Another reason why you want to have local money with you is in case you get thirsty or hungry, or you just want to buy a snack at a small convenience store or gas station, because just like they do here in the United States, they tend to have a limit for purchases being done with debit or credit card. So again, you don't want to be in that spot where you have to spend a little bit more in order for you to pay with your debit or credit card, simply because you don't have any cash on you. The food in Mexico is very tasty. I am a huge fan of Mexican food, and I might be a little bit biased here because of that. Every time I travel to Cancun, I feel like I am in food heaven. If you are concerned with how spicy the food can get, don't worry because they know that tourists are not used to eating so spicy as the locals are. And because of this reason, they tend to serve everything with the spicy salsas on the side. On the other hand, I would highly advise you to stay away from drinking tap water, whether it's in liquid state or in solid state, so no ice. Why? Well, because the water there is processed differently, and unfortunately, if you drink tap water, your organism might not be used to it, and you'll end up with an upset stomach, and I'm sure you don't want to poop your vacation away. In Mexico, they care a lot about the environment, so if you're planning on doing outdoor or water activities, I highly encourage you to take with you some eco-friendly sunblock or sunscreen. Otherwise, you're gonna have to buy it in Cancun, and it can get a little bit expensive. And finally, if you're thinking about bringing back some souvenirs, I highly encourage you to stay away from purchasing them at the airport or the hotel zone in Cancun. Instead, go to a local Walmart off of the hotel zone or drive into the city to get a better price for those. Luckily, a lot of the medicines that you would usually need a prescription from a doctor in the United States, in Mexico are sold over the counter, which is great in case you left yours at home. Guys, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, make sure you hit the like button, and most importantly, share it with your friends, family, or anyone you know who's planning a trip to Cancun, Mexico. Don't forget to drop any additional questions in the comment box below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and activate the bell so you do not miss any of my upcoming travel videos. With that, my name is Milo, and I'll see you guys in the next video.